So guys, we're talking about right triangle stuff. If you had geometry, pretty much everything we're going to be doing today is something you've seen before. That doesn't mean that you guys all know how to do it. We need to review it, but it's good stuff. It's basic. It's the most basic kind of trig you can do. Trigonometry, in case you guys forget, is how the angles of a triangle are related to its sides. So we're going to start to see a little bit of that come out of the woodworks today. We're going to look at two things, Pythagorean Theorem and special right triangles. And both of those are used to find the missing sides of a triangle. Okay? Now the reason we're doing it, besides the fact that it's basic trig, it also has something to do with our unit circle, which we're going to pull into play in a couple classes from now. So, all that good stuff being said, let's go ahead and begin. So go ahead and copy down this slide, please. All right, guys. So Pythagoras theorem. If you know two sides, you can find the third side using this formula here. A squared plus b squared equals c squared, where c is the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is the longest side of your triangle, and it's also the side directly across from the 90-degree angle. Okay, so that's how you find your hypotenuse. It's the one across from the 90, and it's the longest side. This rule only applies to right triangles. That means triangles with a 90-degree angle. Okay?
No.
Here we go. All right, I don't want you to write that down. I don't want you to write that down. Here we go. Let's do an example. Example 1. Find x. Number 1. Okay, we'll go with it. Yeah. Which you guys will be thankful for tomorrow at your SAT. I bet you they'll have at least one Pythagorean Theorem question on there. All right.
So isn't it x squared plus 6x squared?
So we have a right triangle. We have two sides. That's Pythagorean Theorem to find the third. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now c is the hypotenuse. Which side is the hypotenuse? X, 6, or 10? 10. So that goes here. The other two sides can go in the other blanks. It doesn't matter where you put them. So go ahead and square it. Did you say it's preschool?
Yeah.
Well, be thankful for it, because you'll be crying soon. And then you take a square root, right? Now, just so you guys know, usually when you solve by taking a square root, you get a positive and a negative, right? But not in geometry. There's only positives. We don't do negatives in geometry. Okay? So that's Pythagorean's theorem. That's the answer. All right. Let's do another one. That's too small of an eraser. There we go. Okay.
What kind of triangle is that?
You know, I like how I just said it's easy and then you throw it back.
Now, Kaylin,
Sorry.
participate with us. Okay.
Is that 3? Where is that?
It is.
Wouldn't that be 1?
Okay, guys, so something squared plus something squared plus equals something squared. What's the hypotenuse?
6.
It's 6. Okay, now I'm going to put this in parentheses.
Doesn't that cancel?
What? Good question. So let's talk about this. So first of all, you're squaring both of these numbers. So it's going to be 3 squared and the square root of 2 squared, right? Now, what is 3 squared?
9.
And as you know, the square cancels out a square root, right? So those are gone, so you're left with 2. And so 9 times 2 is 18. And then from there, we're just going to follow through with the normal stuff, right? 36 take away 18 is 18. And then we take a square root. I don't know where it went.
Hey, Billy, I think it went away. This doesn't look like math.
Yeah, that's really weird. Why did it do that?
It makes the whole entire thing be happy.
He's just showing us. You're making the circle in the middle, Bailey?
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Do you remember that thing from Wii Sports, like the rock?
Oh, it's 18?
Oh, yeah.
It's 9.
It's not 9, actually.
8.
All right, so guys,
Wait!
square roots have to be simplified as much as possible. So if you guys forgot how to do that, I'll show you. 18 is what times what?
9.
Times 2. And then 9 is?
3. Oh, so it's 18?
So 18 is 3 times 3 times 2. And when a mommy turtle and a daddy turtle love each other very much, they have a baby turtle, and then they leave.
So it's the exact same thing?
Yeah.
We did all that extra stuff.
Right. So that is Pythagorean
Okay, don't
theorem.
erase it though.
Well, I'm going to erase this side, okay? And I'm going to put 2 problems up for you.
I didn't think I asked for that. But hey.
Hey, I'm just in a spirit of giving, so you don't even have to ask. Oh, you like the math. You like the math.
Wait, so the answer?
Hey, Bailey? Are
Yeah.
you one of those teachers that's actually giving the SAT or no?
No.
Okay, I was just making sure. A lot of my teachers don't know how to listen.
You always be making sure.
Just making sure.
Does the student practice?
Yeah. All right. The rest is up to you guys.
I don't want to do it.
Show me what you got. I'll give you a minute.
Since Dylan's not here, I'll be doing
All right, so that's Pythagorean's theorem. Now we're going to transition to something else. You can write down the title for now. We'll get the rest of this in a second. So go ahead and write down your title, Part B. We're going to talk about these things called special right triangles. Special right triangles. Okay, so here we go. So 45, 45, 90 right triangles and 30, 60, 90 right triangles. We're going to talk about both of those. So a 45, 45, 90 right triangle is a right triangle that has 2 45-degree angles in it. Now, trigonometry is a study of how the angles of a triangle are related to its sides, and here's one relationship. If you have a triangle with 2 equal angles in it, then you also have a triangle with 2 equal sides. They're the same. Now, this seems stupid, but just bear with me. Draw some arrows here and write the word same. You'll appreciate the arrows a little bit later. But on a 45, 45, 90 right triangle, whatever one of the legs is, the other leg is the same. Okay? Now, on a 45, 45, 90 right triangle, the hypotenuse is also related to the other sides in an interesting way. Whatever these sides are, the hypotenuse is the same thing, but multiplied by the square root of 2. Did you say that? Good memory. So, on a 45, 45, 90 right triangle, whatever the hypotenuse is, whatever the legs are, the hypotenuse is the same thing multiplied by the square root of 2. Now, once again, I'm going to give you guys some arrows here. I want you to draw an arrow from the side to the hypotenuse, and I want you to put multiply by square root 2. What if I gave you the hypotenuse and I wanted you to work backwards to finding the leg? What would you do? You would divide by the square root of 2. Okay? Now I want you guys to leave the 30, 60, 90 spot blank for a little while. Okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. I don't want to overwhelm you guys with too much information, but there's that. Yeah. We're on example 2. Find x and y. Number 1. Here we go. Okay. You'll just wait a second. All right, guys. So you got to ask yourself, what kind of triangle is this? First of all, it's a 45, 45, 90 right triangle because they give you a 45 here. If they give you one of 45, the other one has to be 45 also. That's just how triangles work. Now, did they give me a leg or a hypotenuse? A leg. So now look at your paper, follow your arrows. Whatever one leg is, what does it tell me about the other leg? They're the same, right? Which means that x equals... Okay. Now, if you want to get to your hypotenuse, what do you have to do to your leg? Multiply. Now, you guys don't usually have to write all this. Okay, so what did they give me on this 45, 45, 90 right triangle? Leg or hypotenuse?
That's a leg.
That's a leg again. It's still a leg. The hypotenuse is y. So, what is x? The other leg is also 5 square root of 2, right? How do you get to your hypotenuse? You multiply it by the square root of 2. So it's like, well, this is the same thing, Mr. Bailey. Well, kind of. Check this out. So 5 square root of 2 times the square root of 2. No? What's the square root of 2 times the square root of 2? It's 2. The square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is like square root of 2 squared, isn't it? So if this helps you, you can write this little middle step here, right? And then they cancel. So you're just left with 2. 5 times 2 is 10. That one's 10. I don't know about that. But you can say that. They do cancel in a way, but here's the problem. Whenever people say that, sometimes it makes me think, are they thinking like the 2 just goes away? It doesn't. The square root goes away, but the 2 stays. All right, let's do another one. Number 3. Ready? Yes, you are. Rami, why are you a genius? Why are you a genius? Write it down. All right, here we go. So, what did they give me this time? Think of it as a hypotenuse. How do you get, now look at your diagram, if you want to get from a hypotenuse to a leg, what do you have to do? You got to divide by the square root of 2. Now that's interesting, so pay attention here. Pay attention. How do you divide 8 by the square root of 2? Here's how you do it. 8 over square root 2. That's dividing it. But you're not supposed to keep square roots in the bottom. You guys remember how to get rid of those? Multiply it by itself. But what do you do to the bottom? You do to the top. So now what is the top going to be if I multiply 8 times the square root of 2? That's right. You don't actually multiply them. You just put them next to each other because one's a square root, one's not. And what did we say earlier square root of 2 times itself is? It's just 2. And now we can reduce this. What does 8 over 2 reduce into? There you go. So y equals 4 square root of 2. So that's how you divide by a square root of 2. It's rationalizing, which is the process of getting the square root out of the bottom. And what's this one going to be over here? The same thing. Okay, so I'm going to throw a couple at you guys. Yeah. And then you guys get to practice it. Can I clear it?
No.
Dang it. Dang it. How about this piece?
Yeah.
Cece? Can I clear this piece over here?
Let me take pictures because I'm trying to figure this out.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I told you no. For a reason.
Got it?
Yeah.
All right. So let me throw a couple up here for you. Do as many as you can in the time I give you.
No.
We'll start off with some easy ones, and we'll work our way up to some harder ones.
Yeah, come on, dude.
Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I've done it too many times.
Two numbers that's not 5. Yes, baby, yes. X equals 6.
Okay, there you go. You just want me to burn time so you can text. All right.
Oh, I'm actually paying attention.
You are. You're doing a great job. All right, go back to this now. Go back to your chart. We're going to add a new one on.
No, not the something one.
Oh, yeah.
Those ones are hard.
Okay, here we go. 30, 60, 90. 30, 60, 90 right triangles have a 60-degree angle and a 30-degree angle. The side that is across from the 30 is the shorter leg. There's a short leg and a long leg. I'll call this one the short leg, okay? So the one that's across from the 30 is the shorter leg, but you don't really need me to tell you it's across from the 30. You can tell just by looking at the short leg. It'll be shorter. Okay? Now, 30, 60, 90 triangles have a really interesting property. The property is that if you take the short leg and you double it, in other words, just multiply it by 2, not the square root of 2, but just 2. If you multiply by 2, you'll find the hypotenuse.
Okay.
So in other words, if your short leg was 8, your hypotenuse would be 16. And so, of course, if we wanted to work backwards, what would we do?
We divide by 2.
Divide by 2. I'm going to write it.
Do an example or
That's a SS. And
That's a 2 and an S, yeah.
Bailey's wives, I know. We already know. They all look bad. They look bad.
Oh, that's not, no, divide by 2. Sorry, not. Okay, now the long leg is also related to the short leg. Here's their relationship. The long leg is the same thing as the short leg, but just
bigger.
it's the same thing as the short leg, but it is multiplied by the square root of 3.
3.
Okay? So you multiply by the square root of 3, and of course if you're working backwards, you divide by square root of 3. Okay? So that's a 30, 60, 90. We're going to do a couple of those, and that will be the end of our lesson on special right triangles and Pythagorean. No.
It was a lot harder.
Too much.
Mainly because everyone was loud in that class. Not even she was bad.
Were you one of the loud people?
No, I was actually quiet.
You were a good boy?
Yeah, because Dylan wasn't in there.
Oh, Dylan ruins it.
Just boring Dylan.
We love you, Dylan. Okay.
I don't know.
Shall we go?
Because I was very quiet.
All right, example 3. Start easy, go hard after that. Ready? Starting easy,
I regret it. I don't want to do it.
and we'll get harder as we go.
Okay, so can we just like do it together? Like guided practice?
Yeah, let's do a guided practice. I like that. All right, here we go. Austin Longmire, did they give me The short leg, the long leg, or the hypotenuse? XLNT. Excellent. All right. Ricardo, if I have the short leg, what do I have to do to find the hypotenuse?
Multiply it by 2.
You have to multiply it by 2, which means that it would be 18. Next. Kaylin Smith. If I want to find the long leg, what do I have to do to my short leg? That's right. And if I multiply that by the square root of 3, Demir, what do I get? 9 and radical 3. There you go. That's an easy one. Let's do a harder one.
No, we're fine with that one.
No, we're gonna do a harder one.
But I don't think Dylan's spirit one is.
Oh, yeah. I don't say that because I'm going to lose. Oh, yeah, bring it back. Alright, I played with that last time.
Okay, go ahead and write that down. Well,
How was that?
oh,
Okay.
it's a good question. What do you think? Tristan Romero. What side did they give me? Did they give me the short leg, the long leg, or the hypotenuse? They gave me the long leg. Now, on your little diagram, the long leg has an arrow going from here to the short side. What does it say to do? Divide by the square root of 3. So let's do that. So if I want to divide by the square root of 3, what do I write, Alex?
6 over 30.
Good. And then I'm going to ask Jermaine, what do I have to do now? No, but I will hand it off to Talia. By the square root of 3. And so the top becomes what? And the bottom? And this reduces to? And so there's our final answer there. But we're not done. I'm going to ask Cece. Cece, we still need to find the what? The hypotenuse. How do I get to the hypotenuse from the short leg? What do we have to do? No. By 2. We're going to multiply that short leg by 2. Now, if you multiply that by 2, Isabella, what would I get? We're looking for y. Young lady, you know this. All right, here we go. Isaac Poole, what do you think? If I multiply by 2, what do I get? 4. Well, that's a weird thing. 4 square root of 3. Notice you don't multiply the square root by the... I didn't hear you. Sorry. Don't get offended. I just didn't hear you. All right. So, there we go. We good?
No.
One more. This is like the ugly one.
I got it.
Bless you, whoever just needs.
Okay, last one. Last one. 3 square root of 2 over 2 xy.
Why?
I don't know. You should use the bathroom. Go forth and prosper. Can I erase now?
Wait.
Dang it. This?
Yes.
Man, these are pokey. Okay, here we go. Let's talk to Alan. Alan, what side did they give me? Long, short, or hypotenuse?
The hypotenuse.
Correct. Anaya. if I know the hypotenuse, what can I find next? Huh? Which one? Short or long? We're going to find short next. Good. And now I'm going to ask, not Josh, but Diana. Diana, if I want to go from my hypotenuse to a short leg, what do I have to do? You have to divide it by 2. You guys ready for this? Okay. How do you divide this by 2?
Isn't it over 2? Something over 2?
You could do that. Here's what I'm going to do, though. I want to make your life easier for you. So you might want to write this. How do we divide by 2? Here's how we're going to do it. Ready? I mean, there's a few ways I can show you, but this is the easiest way. Just take what you have and put another 2 in the bottom. That's dividing by 2. Okay? Makes life a lot easier than doing any kind of weird mathematical acrobats. So the answer would be 3 square root of 2 over 4. That's it. So we have 3 square root of 2 over 4. Okay? Now we need to find that long leg. So, is that Carlos back there? It is Carlos. Carlos, how do we go from the short leg to the long leg?
We multiply by square root of 3.
Great. Okay, now this is where things get interesting again. Can I erase that?
Yes.
Okay, so what am I multiplying by the square root of 3?
3 square root of 2 over 4.
We're multiplying this by the square root of 3. Aylin, Audie.
The bell's going to ring in a minute.
No, we have 6 minutes.
Go.
Now what?
Is it over 1?
How do we do that?
Add it to the square root.
Right.
Put over 1? Multiply straight across.
Right.
So, 2 square root of what? Oh, sorry. Mr. Bailey. 3 square root 6 over 4.
Got it.
Yes, I was, oh my gosh.
All right, so you guys, on your homework tonight, you got when you're looking at your triangles, if you want to write this next slide down, you're welcome to, but you don't necessarily need to. You got to first of all ask yourself what triangle you're using, so you use the correct diagram. Ask yourself what side did it give you, and then use the diagram to find the missing sides. Okay? So, that's the end of it. I bid you guys happy packing. Yes. Huh?
Blue is definitely
Huh? Do the graph. What?
more blue.
No, I don't like blue. I like red.
Blue is more your color, honey.
But I like sign with no. I'm fine with that.
Doesn't you look at blue? No, every 4.
So you find the answer. You'll find the exact.
Wait, no.
Not by the street.
I didn't vote for anyone because I was salty. I know, I'm sorry. I got really Where's the thing to download?
Austin never played me back.
Trophy.
Austin never played me back. Oh, that's right.
Alright, I need to print that, and then I just need to print the essay itself, and I'm good.
I really need to change all these batteries out.
Wait, no, what did you say?
I should give some extra credit to a calculus student who made it. Yes, sir.
Wait, is it printing?
Turn it on. How? You don't know how to do it on a print. Oh, no.
Natural body clock.
And now I need to do this one, and that's it. Thank you, Lord Bailey. You saved my life. I like it. I'm sad that the locks are gone, but you know what?
Golden
Yeah. I like it now. It's just not my face all the time. That's a lot of work and time, bro. I go with anything I can that makes it little work. That's the only reason I didn't cut my hair, because I got sick of buzzing it every other
This one came out blank. You should have got it right there.
No, I don't want to be too much of a social retard. I'm good.
I don't miss my old man.
I don't know what to do with my hair. I just leave it in a mess. Thank you, Lord Bailey.
Starting to get like, starting to get ready.
Oh my god, I'm gonna fail!
By the door.
Yeah.
I'm a borrow.
This is so bad. Just look around.
Okay.
You may.
I have my headphones.
It's a little table.
Yes, I do.
I'm gonna
Hold on, let me pause my video real quick.